Welcome to the Stories Told podcast. This is episode 40, The Big Boom at the End. This is the Stories Told podcast. Two authors talking about stories in movies, TV, and of course, books.
I'm Michael Grayford. I write action-adventure stories in fantasy and sci-fi worlds, sometimes for younger readers and sometimes for adults. And I try to always inject at least a little bit of humor.
And I am author E.W. Barnes, and I write action-adventure, time travel novels, and space opera science fiction. Thousands of years, thousands of worlds. But be forewarned, beyond here, there will be spoilers. Are you ready for the adventure? Let's begin. And welcome back to the Stories Told podcast. I'm author E.W. Barnes, and with me is author Michael Grayford. And today we're talking about the story told in Loki, Season 2, Episode 4, Heart of the TVA. How you doing today, Mike?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Well, thank you. And what's new in your writing world?
Oh, let's see. My writing world, I'm still trying to get ramped back up on things. The big thing I did was I wrote and sent out my monthly newsletter. Not a huge accomplishment, but at least it was something on my writing list that I needed to get done. And then other than that, just, Vela promotion, little things, ramping up, trying to get my promotion plan going. Yeah, nothing too exciting. How about you?
I have just been plugging along. I have uploaded another chapter of the Clipchamp, and that's available to read on Patreon, and have completed editing a few more chapters of the audio version of the third book in my time travel series, and those are available on YouTube. I only have 4 more chapters of that third book to go, so I'll be glad when I finish that up, and then I'll move on to book 4. So
wow, that's great.
As a reminder to our listeners, you can read The Adventures of the Empyrean Guard as it's being written on Patreon, and the first book in the Tales of Zara, The Golden Scarab of Balihar, is available on Amazon, and those links are in the show notes. So what interesting stories have you come across lately in books, movies, or television?
Ooh, let's see. I think last week I spoke about Foundation.
Yes.
The series, the Apple TV Plus series based on Isaac Asimov's books. So I finished the latest season, which was excellent, and I'm definitely looking forward to more. I really hope they don't cancel that series because it's just so well done. Yeah, I thought they did a great job with it.
Awesome.
And what about you?
Watching Loki, of course, and
yes.
I have to admit, I delved into another favorite of mine that is not science fiction or fantasy related. The Great British Baking Show. I love that.
Excellent.
I'm not really a reality TV kind of person, but I do really enjoy The Great British Baking Show. I think it's a lot of fun. I'm always rooting for everyone. I love how kind and supportive people are there. It's not just eliminate your competition so that you can come in first kind of mentality. And so it's just an enjoyable show. It's very much like comfort food, which coincidentally is what they're making. So it's comfort TV with comfort food. And anyway, it's a lot of fun. So that's what I've been enjoying as the days have gotten shorter and the nights are growing colder and the snow is on the mountains. Watching baking.
Nice. Seems like a good combo.
Yep. So are you ready to talk about Loki?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's begin. Today we're talking about the story told in Loki, Season 2, Episode 4, Heart of the TVA. And I will read the short synopsis that comes up when you type in Loki Season 2, Episode 4. The TVA's loom nears catastrophic failure. But Loki, Mobius, and Sylvie have a He Who Remains variant. So what'd you think about this episode, Mike?
Oh, I had some really fun things in this episode. One thing that I noticed, which I didn't mention in previous episodes in this season, but I thought was pretty funny, was that I love that they have this weird animated clock that's become one of the important players in the story.
Yeah.
It's just like, here's this AI thing that just floats around as this ghost clock, and now it's like a major character. I thought that was really cool, and I'm glad that they're carrying that character through. It's very interesting. Yeah, so there's a lot of little things like this that I liked. I love the fact that we learned that Renslayer was at the side of He Who Remains when setting all this up, and she essentially got pruned to be put into the TVA.
Yeah.
Because, we didn't know, right? Who these. There's always this open question of what did these characters do before they were in the TVA, and she was pretty instrumental, which kind of makes sense given her position there. But like Miss Minutes said at the end of the last episode, you're going to be really angry when you find out who you were. Yeah. So I wasn't expecting that. I thought that was a nice twist. So that they gave the handbook to Timely, and then Ouroboros gets it from him, and there was this whole snake eating its own tail question of, wait, who created this thing? If you got it from him and he got it from you, right? That's literally the Ouroboros, right? Which shows us why that character had that name, which is awesome. I like how we see that Renslayer is still completely ruthless. She'll do what she needs to do to get things done and to get it her way. So that character continues to be interesting, and I'm interested to see where she goes. Like, what's her reaction going to be now that she knows more of what's going on? And then again, I liked the upping of the stakes that they continue to do, and how there's just this doom at the end of the episode when the loom falls apart and breaks, and there's this big explosion. Once again, where is this going to go? It looks bad. So yeah, I think they filled us in on some interesting information. They brought some things to bear. They explained why, why characters were where they are, and had the names, and then give us a big boom at the end. So I liked it. I enjoyed this episode.
I like the big boom at the end. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I loved this episode. I would venture to say that this is one of the best episodes we've seen in this series. And I think it's because it slowed down a bit and allowed us great character performances. I mean, we got good stuff from almost every character. And it was just so enjoyable to sink your teeth into it and wonder what was going to happen next. There were surprises at every turn. And things that we weren't expecting. And it was just really enjoyable. Like I said, one of the best episodes, I believe, in this series. I thought the open was impactful and informative. We did not waste any time. We jumped right in, and we got new motivation for Renslayer, and we got new information for, the overarching mystery of the whole series. Like you just said, we have sort of some really great references in these folks' name, like Ouroboros, which is an image of a snake eating its own tail. If you type in Ouroboros on Google, that's what pops up. We've got Mobius, right? Mobius is the idea of the Mobius strip that's never ending. It's kind of a visual trick of something that never ends, always goes around. And so how does that relate to his character? Now that we see what Ouroboros' name means, as far as he wrote the TVA handbook based on the work of Timely, who did his work based on the TVA handbook that he got slipped to him by Renslayer. I mean, so you've got that, going in circle thing. I believe that's called bootstrapping in time travel tropes. If somebody knows if that's correct or not, please go ahead and leave a comment and let us know if I'm remembering that correctly. And then I went ahead and looked up Renslayer, because Slayer is clear, right? We've got somebody who slays something, who ends something, who destroys something.
Right.
And Ren can mean joy or good.
That's ominous.
So we've got somebody who's, yes, it really is. So I kind of wonder what that means for that character, because they've been very thoughtful in their name choices. And like you, I thought the ending was fantastic. It was so not what I was expecting. Timely is standing there saying, time to be brave, time to be brave. He's going to go and fix the loom because he understands the technology, because he created a version of this in 1893. And then, poof, he's gone. And the loom explodes. And we zoom in on Loki's face, the anguish, the fear, the surprise. Powerful. Boom at the end. Yeah. I really like this episode.
Yeah, me too. I mean, those are all great notes. And just commenting about the end, it's just the surprise they all felt like, what just happened? He's gone? That's not good. Yeah, so as far as what I would improve. So like you, I thought this was one of the best episodes. I was thoroughly engaged. It's kind of like when we were talking about Stargate, right? And we'd hit certain episodes where it's like, I'm in the whole episode, just all following them along with the ride. And that's how I felt with this one. I didn't have any notes on what they can improve. I mean, if I went back and watched
And
it
that's
again,
okay.
maybe there'd be some things I could nitpick going through it again. But certainly, I mean, we've had little notes on earlier episodes of the season, but this one, I was with them the whole time. I thought it was well done, like you said. Great performances, good character stuff, lots of surprises and things brought to light. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I don't have a note for improvement on this one. How about you?
I just have one thing, and that is that in this episode, we do a callback to the first episode of this season where Loki was time slipping, and they had this fun little series of tasks that had to be completed to stop his time slipping, one of which was that he needed to be pruned at the appropriate moment so that he would come back out of the loom. And he lost his pruning device, his pruning fork. What else should we call that? Pruning stick?
Yeah.
Pruning prod?
The prod,
Anyway.
the baton, something.
Yeah, anyway, he lost it just as he was like, the alarm went off and he was supposed to be pruned and he doesn't know what he's going to do. And an elevator opens right next to him as a phone is ringing and he sees Sylvie and then he gets pruned. That was what happened in the first episode of the series. Now we're getting a callback to that because he is the one who prunes himself. In this episode, he picks up a pruning prod and sees himself and realizes what he has to do. And just as Sylvie's opening the door, he prunes himself. And then the phone keeps ringing, and of course they're going to answer the phone. That particular scene, I thought was slightly too slow, considering the momentum of the rest of the episode. And since those of us who had been watching it, we knew what was going to happen. There's Loki standing there with his back to the Loki with the pruning prod, and Sylvie's opening the elevator. I kind of wished it just would go a little faster, because the rest of the episode was really tight and moved quickly. And then it took forever for them to answer the phone. I was yelling at the television, answer the phone!
Yes, that's true.
I would have liked that have been just a little bit faster. Other than that, like you, I had no other notes because I thought this was a really good episode. So what are your takeaways as a writer from this episode?
Yeah, one thing, probably the main thing I take away from this is don't be afraid to go big, right? Don't be afraid. It's like I think sometimes when writing, maybe there's this fear of getting into a situation where you can't get yourself out of, but those are often the most interesting places to go, right? Make it horrible. Do something awful and let's see how you can get out of this. And that's kind of where they left us at the end of this episode. Boom, the whole thing blows up.
That's such a great observation. That's such a great observation.
What is your takeaway or takeaways from this one?
To me, it was a reminder again of how important it is to let the characters drive the story. Because this episode, that's what happened. And that's what made it so good. The characters were consistent with what we've seen in the past, and everything they did is what moved the story forward. And so it's just a great reminder that focus on the characters. Let the characters do what they're going to do.
Yeah, great point.
But, your point of don't be afraid to go big is very well taken. And I have a chapter I'm working on today where, things are dicey. And I think I'm going to go big and have something blow up. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us as we talked about the story told in Loki Season 2, Episode 4, Part of the TVA. We had a really zippy episode because this was a great episode of Loki, and there really wasn't much to talk about except how good it was. A big thank you to our Patreon supporters and all our subscribers. We're so grateful for your support and your encouragement. The Stories Told podcast is available on multiple podcast platforms, and we thank you for liking and subscribing and following, depending on where you're listening. It may not be a big deal to you, but it means a lot to us. You can find Michael Grayford at michaelgrayford.com and E.W. Barnes at 1000years.com, and those links are in the show notes. Join us next time as we discuss the story told in Loki Season 2, Episode 5. Thank you so much, Mike. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you. See you next time.
And we'll see you next time on the Stories Told podcast.